Yeah, and what's cool is when you see the actor come to life. Like you put them in that makeup and that's my favorite part of it is watching them come to life because they just feel like they can embody that character even more and they get so excited. That's the coolest thing.
Lights on the set, the director's late. The cameraman sneezes, oh what a fate. The coffee spilled, the script's all wet. But darling, we ain't started shooting yet. Actors rehearsing with lines gone astray, improvising words like it's Broadway's play. The boom mic drops in a hilarious dive, but somehow the scene comes out alive. Oh, lights on the set.
Hello and welcome back to the Anecdotes podcast. I'm Bob Krieger, your host, and today would like to welcome Chelsea Hernandez Fox, makeup artist extraordinaire. At least that's what I like to say. We don't really have, I haven't really talked to very many makeup artists around, and I'm glad you're here to tell us all about how to do film makeup. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started and what caused you to really want to do makeup?
Yeah, absolutely. So I went to the University of Southern California for college and I took a screenwriting class with a good friend of mine. And growing up, I always loved creature features, saw Jaws and wanted to know how they trained a shark to do all those amazing things that it did. My grandpa, who showed it to me when I was 8, so way too young to have seen that movie, explained to me how it was a machine. And so growing up, I'd always been really interested in all of it. Then I went to college and, I also loved to read and write. So I decided to major in English at the University of Southern California. And while I was there, I was taking a screenwriting class with a friend and she liked one of my short stories. It was a horror short because I always wrote horror movies. In my brain, it was always a horror movie that I was writing. And she decided to turn it into a short film. And she didn't have a makeup artist, it turns out. Like, day of, called me in a panic. The girl had bailed. So she's like, you've seen more horror movies than I've seen. Can you come and make up some blood? You know what it should look like on a screen. And, can you come help me? And I get there. She has no supplies except for some water, some food coloring for the blood. And I was like, you know what? It needs to be thicker. So I added, dish soap and, random things trying to thicken it because I didn't know what I was doing and never done it. For bruising, she had an eyeshadow palette, which, can totally work if it's the right shades, but it was not the right shades. So I had to make it up and I had the time of my life, didn't make a penny off of it, had the best time. And I was like, this is what I want to do with my life.
Oh, I love it.
So
We do need to have people who know what they're doing on set when it comes to special effects makeup. I don't know how many times I've needed blood and, oh, I know, Karo syrup has the right thickness and then red food coloring, there we go, we can do that. And we pour it on and then you can never get the red out of anything because food dye is permanent, at least as permanent as it can be. Don't get it on your clothes, don't get it. It looks great on camera. But that's great. So what did you do? So where did you go to learn how to do all the makeup stuff?
yeah, so when the pandemic hit, I most like many people, we lost our jobs because everything was up in the air, no what was going on. And I was staying with my parents because, I needed to help get groceries and stuff because we had some high risk individuals in my house. So I went to stay with them and help them get groceries. And, my mom and I were having a conversation at the dinner table and she said, what do you want to be? And I said, I want to be a makeup artist. That's what I want to do with my life. But who knows what's going to happen with this pandemic if I'll ever get to be on set again because I'd been freelancing and I loved it. And I was like, but I don't know if I'm ever going to get to do it, but I've always wanted to go to school for it. And so she said, well, let's look up what schools are open, and I said, well, I'm not sure what's open, but I'd always heard about the Tom Savini Special Makeup Effects School out in Pittsburgh. But I was in LA already, so I was like, oh, I don't really want to move to Pittsburgh. I hadn't really thought about doing that.
Pittsburgh. I never even thought of something that big being in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, well, so Tom Savini was from there and grew up there and still lives there. And he would fly to LA for shoots and come back to Pittsburgh.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
So yeah, and Pittsburgh's super cool. But yeah, so turns out it was open. It had financial aid, which none of the other schools had. And I remember doing a shoot out in LA and I'd gone to get supplies from this really amazing makeup place called Nigel's Beauty Emporium. Mm-hmm. The best. Oh my gosh, that and Friends Beauty were my two favorite go-to places. But they asked where I was going to school because I was asking all these questions about how different products worked. And I said, oh, I really want to go. but I'm not sure. I was looking at cinema makeup school at the time out in Hollywood. And they said, have you heard of the Tom Savini School? And I said, no. And they said, you go there, you're set. You learn everything. And I was like, okay, put in the back of my mind. 6 years later, I'm giving away what doesn't fit in my Honda Fit. And basically I had a bag of clothes, all my makeup supplies, my art supplies, and that was it. And I drove to Pennsylvania,
Oh, wow.
got an apartment over the phone, had no idea what it looked like, couldn't believe that $500 got me a whole apartment versus sharing with like 5 people like it was in LA. But yeah, so that's where I went to makeup school. It was a great school. I had some amazing instructors.
How long was the course of instruction?
So it's 16 months.
Really?
16 months. And you learn everything from practical effects when it comes to wounds and scars to sculpting. I love the sculpting classes. I had an amazing sculpting teacher named Jesse and Jerry. They were both amazing. And then you can technically pick which route you want to go down. You can do beauty makeup, or you can focus on like take an animatronic class. Well, I'm greedy and I wanted both. So I technically like double majored sort of,
Okay.
where I had like a bazillion credits one semester where I was taking all the beauty courses and building an animatronic. So that was super fun. Loved it. I had a great animatronics teacher. His name was Jordan. He was actually on Face Off and has an amazing, amazing company called Dead Neck Studios. He and his wife. It's amazing the work he does.
I'll have to rewatch all those episodes. I've seen them all. I love them.
Yeah.
But explain to me a little bit what animatronics are. I'm not quite sure I understand.
Yeah. So basically, the shark in Jaws, right? Like that is an animatronic shark. The T-Rex in Jurassic Park, that's an animatronic T-Rex that Stan Winston Studios built.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so like basically it's a giant machine, and then what you do is you sculpt the skin so like what you see on the outside, like you see the T-Rex part, you would sculpt the T-Rex that the audience sees. And then you go through and you build the robot inside of that T-Rex. And then you basically make a skin from what you sculpted. You mold it, you make what you call a skin, and you place it over the robotics that you built. And then when you get the robot to start moving, it'll actually move the skin with it.
Okay, so there's a lot more to it than just sculpting the dinosaur, the creature, the skin.
Yes.
And then you actually have to build the innards, the robot and the action.
Yes.
And I mean, when I think robots, I think of all the programming that has to go into it. But you have to learn that too. You have to learn how muscles work. Pull a line and then something closes, and eyes blinking inside. Wow, that's a lot. I don't think people give makeup that much credit. But there's a lot to it.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. And people that don't know, my mom's a lawyer and my dad's a real estate agent. So they came to visit me in school and they were like, well, show us around. Like, we don't know much about this. And so I was like, well, here's the sculpting room. This is where I sculpt this thing. And then I take it to this room and this is where I mold it. And it takes it, however long to mold it. And then I have to clean the mold out and I take the mold over to this other room where I put, foam latex in it. And then I have to take that and I put it in the oven and I bake it. And then at the end of it, I crack the mold open. And then and my mom was like, oh my God. And that's how I get a scar.
And that's how I get a scar.
For that fits to my, my actor or my actress. So they were both like, wow, there's a lot more that goes into this than we realized.
And they don't realize that you have to take that mold and make multiple copies of that for the different days of shooting if you need to replicate it.
Yes, and it's so important to have consistency photos, like every day if you do a full creature, especially, you have to take photos of every angle, everything so you can recreate it the next time you have to make that same creature, and you gotta it's a lot. It's a lot people don't realize goes into it.
Well, thinking back on Face Off, I loved that show. We'd sit down and watch it religiously. It's like, okay, we're going to see what happened, record it. Oh, well, let's see what happened because I missed it, whatever. And it always got me, how little time, well, in all these reality shows, they don't give you the baking and the cooking and the special effects, the makeup, they don't give you any time to really do it. So you're rushing through to do it. But in reality, how much time do you have to, say, do a mask?
I mean, it does vary shoot to shoot.
Yeah, that I can believe. I understand that.
Yeah, it definitely varies shoot to shoot. I mean, obviously, as an artist, I'm a perfectionist, and it's taken a lot of work to know when it's good and to be like, I gotta move on, I gotta mold this, I gotta keep going forward. But yeah, I mean, it just depends shoot to shoot. You know, if it's a really tight turnaround, a lot of times you can buy these prosthetics that you need. You can buy them off of
Yeah.
Etsy. You can buy them off of, like, a lot of people make them on Etsy, which is an amazing source of prosthetics, which people didn't
I
realize
thought
were a
about
thing.
that. Yeah.
So yeah, Etsy. I used to buy pieces from RBFX out in LA. They're amazing, amazing, gorgeous pieces. The edges are just so thin on these prosthetics. They blend into the skin. It's beautiful work. But yeah, no, I mean, if you have the opportunity to get a life cast of your model or your actor, your actress, and you get the time to sculpt a piece for them, and you get the opportunity to actually make something from scratch that is yours, it's a blast. But if it's a super tight turnaround and they need it like Saturday and it's Thursday, you see what you got, you order what you need, and
You get it.
you
Okay.
make it happen.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. That's the only thing that kind of got me. It's like, okay, why such a tight turnaround to get all this stuff done, and then you have to have your final looks, you know, the day of, after you've only had like an hour of sleep to do this, and like it just like that didn't seem real to me. There was another reality show that only lasted one season, and I can't remember the name of it. I want to say it was something like Greenlit or Greenlight, but it's like 15 years ago, where these filmmakers were brought in, and they would have a contest, and it was the same thing. You have 1 week. Here's this. Come up with a movie, and then the next week you would see the movies that these guys came up with. But there was like no stopping. How do you do it? And I always thought that was incredible. Like how is that even possible? But we do it now with all these different contests that are out there. The 48-hour film project, the Abita Springs Film Festival is holding something this week. Is actually their 7 and 7, where you have 7 days to make a 7-minute film. Great, but after doing that, yes, it can be done. It's not the best. It's not. You want to have time to make sure things work. I think it's the same thing, I guess, in the makeup world. What during makeup, what was your first real professional gig?
I did a shoot called Curse World Problems. Yeah, that was what it was called.
Great name.
It was a great name. It was so much fun. I had the best director and writer. His name is Doug Hawley. He's still out in LA. He is absolutely incredible. He just finished up a film called Sweetest Day. I helped do the concept for it.
Okay.
Pandemic hit. Everything kind of, was pushed because of the pandemic. But yeah, he just wrapped it up. I can't wait to see it. But yeah, he's an amazing guy. And I had to do like a spooky witch figure that had this like crazy scar coming across her face, and was learning as I went, Googling a million things, doing everything I possibly could to figure out how to, make this character what I wanted her to be. And my Doug loved it when I was done with her, and everyone on set was like, "Oh, she's super scary," and I was like, "Good, that's cool." Nothing feels better than when a director goes, "Ooh, I don't like it,"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yes, success." But yeah, so that was my first film, and it was so surreal to get to see like my name on the big screen. When it was released in theaters, it was for a festival. I remember seeing my name and I was just like in tears. I was like, this is the coolest. Like I've always wanted to work in movies, but I didn't know what I wanted to be until I finished college. And then I had that opportunity to work with my friend and I was like, this is it. And so like, it was just so surreal. But yeah, that was amazing. And then I worked for an amazing director named Kylie Eaton. She's incredible. She's out in LA still.
Okay.
And had a really great budget. And it was for a film called Dispel. Gina Torres is in it, and
Okay.
it's an amazing cast. But but I got to do a full creature. It was like 20 plus prosthetic pieces, a full head cowl.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was the makeup application time was, we had like a 4 a.m. call time. It was so much fun. I had the best creature actress for me. We watched a lot of Game of Thrones that night while I was applying all these things to her. But yeah, no, I've had some amazing opportunities before I even got to makeup school. And, I feel very fortunate to have had these opportunities. So,
Well, that's great. I mean, to actually have something where I know the feeling where you see your name in lights the first time, or at least on the screen. It's like, ooh, I did that. That makes me feel good. It's really awesome. The when you talked about, I'm editing this out. You you talked about how your call time was like 4 a.m. to apply this full body makeup, the full creature suit. How long does it usually take? Like if you have when you're doing a makeup on a character day after day, the same makeup, does it gets faster each day, I'm sure, but about how long does it really take? Let's say that I had a face prosthetic and then face makeup, not worrying about the rest of the costume. About how long would something like that take?
yeah, so it can take from half an hour to, depending on how many pieces you have, a few hours. If you have people helping you, I'm up for a job in the next couple months where I'm going to be able to work with somebody, and I love her. She's great. Her name is Elizabeth Ziblet. She's amazing. She's actually out of New Orleans, incredible artist. So I'm really, that will speed things up substantially to have extra hands on set for sure. But yeah, it varies on how, but yeah, couple, 30 minutes to couple hours, 5, 6, sometimes for some people doing huge makeup. So
The only reason I ask was I do see, some BTS shots and BTS video, behind the scenes in the makeup chair, and it's dark out, and oh yeah, we're going to be shooting all day, and then see the talent come in and sit down in the chair and, putting all this stuff on. It's like, my God, it's like, do they get any sleep? Can they just finish shooting and they got to come right back and do the makeup all over again? It starts to get ridiculous. Do you like when these repeat makeups? I'll call them that. Like the same makeup on the same talent for the show. Do you reuse any pieces? No.
no, I'm very proud of my edges when I apply a prosthetic. If you don't see my edges, that's my whole goal, because that will ruin a makeup if you see an edge.
Yeah.
When you remove a prosthetic, usually that trashes the edges. And so I usually always buy a couple of each prosthetic that I'm using, depending on how many shoot days we have. And I usually have like one extra just in case something happens, like the actor forgets they're wearing it, scratches it and rips it, and then you're like, oh.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, I don't reuse the pieces. Also, just like for hygiene purposes, I don't like to
Right.
reuse.
Yeah.
But I'm
Okay.
very psycho about hygiene. So when it comes
No worries.
to,
I get that.
so I don't like to use reused pieces. But yeah, no, it's usually once it's off, it's off.
Okay. Is there anything that does get reused? Like
I mean, people use wigs, like
wigs?
that's wigs.
Well, you talked about the monster cowl. Those things. That
The edges are messed up once
Really?
you
Same
take
thing?
it off. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's almost. I mean, I get it. I totally understand, but it's almost insane to me. It's like you put in all this work, and after multiple hours of making the prosthetic, and then multiple hours putting it on the actor, and then the actor goes and does their shot. It's only an hour long, and then they're done for the day, and it's like rip, done. It seems to me that hurts. It's like, oh, that's my art gone down the drain. But
It hurts until you see it on screen, and then you're like, it lives forever.
then it looks okay. Again, I get it. It's just it's one of those things that you have to get used to. It's like they talk about in in filmmaking, you have to learn to kill your babies. You have a shot that you really love, but it just doesn't work or a scene that just doesn't work for the rest of the film, even though it's your favorite. You have to learn to get rid of it. It's sorry, that's on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, I always had trouble. So I had an amazing job out. And so while I was in makeup school, I met my now husband, and he got a job. He's an engineer. He got a job at the University of Madison, Wisconsin. And he was like, I want you to come with me. I don't know what you're going to do for work after going to makeup school out there, but like, let's see what's out there. Maybe there's a shop in Milwaukee. Who knows? Well, the shop that I used to love shopping at, it's called Dapper Cadaver. It was out in LA. I used
Another
to buy,
great name.
it's a great name, great logo too. They used to be out in LA, and I'd always wanted to work for them because I used to buy body parts from them for different shoots. Like if I needed an arm, Dapper Cadaver, you'd call them up. Do you have an arm? Can I come pick one up? Anything like that. And it turns out during the pandemic, they had moved to Madison, Wisconsin. And so,
Serendipity right there.
oh my gosh, I was so excited. I remember I was so nervous calling them. It's the owners are BJ and Eileen Winslow, amazing people, super cool. And I remember I was so nervous. I reached out and I was like, hey, I'm moving to Wisconsin. I'm about to finish makeup school. It's my dream to work for you guys. And I got a call back and they're like, can you interview? And I was like in tears. I was so excited because I'd always want to work for them. And I got the job to be a studio artist for them. And it was incredible. There for 3 years out in Wisconsin, painting props, dead bodies, all types of stuff. It was the best. But letting go of things, I would make these things, these, creatures or dead animals or whatever it was. And I would get attached to what I had made, and then I had to ship it out to somebody. And it was always like the saddest part was saying goodbye to the thing I had just made. But yeah, they're a great shop. If you ever need anything, severed heads, mummies, whatever it is, they got you covered, and they're really great people. So
I like that. Okay, I'm glad to have resources. They're always good. The only issue I have with anything like that, and I get excited about the severed heads and the blood and this because it's part of the art. It's part of you get these are the pieces to tell this cool story. What I worry is one day the feds are going to look at my browser history and see things like how do you bury a body. Like, what is the best way to cut off an arm? Little things like that, because you're trying to write that in a script. You're trying to get that little. I want to be real as possible. How do we do this? And people who don't understand look at that like, what the hell is wrong with you? Well, nothing. I'm just a filmmaker. It's just what we do.
yeah, the things I've had to look at to make something look real. I feel like I've kind of become desensitized in a lot of ways to the point where a couple years ago, my husband slipped and broke his ankle to the point where his foot was turned around, like on his ankle and like backwards. And I remember I got to the ER because they called me and they were like, your husband's at the time we were engaged. He's like, they're in the ER, and I rushed in the ER and I was, he's sitting there in the bed. He's all drugged up from, painkillers because he was screaming.
It hurts.
It hurts, yeah. And I look at his ankle and he goes, is it that bad? And I look at it and I'm like, oh, no, it's not that bad. It's going to be okay, honey. It's going to be fine. And in my brain, I was like, this is getting amputated. Like, you can't fix this. This is that bad looking. But on the outside, I was super calm and collected because I'd seen all types of crazy stuff doing my work.
Yep.
So.
I'm surprised you didn't take out your phone and take pictures. Well, just in case I might want to use this at another.
Bless him. In the middle of gritting his teeth in pain, he goes, if you want to take photos for reference, you can. And I was like, this is love.
He's a keeper.
He's
a keeper, right?
100%. Between modeling for me for different looks, I'm life casting his arm next week. Like, he's a keeper.
I love it. I love it. It's always great to have a spouse that totally supports you in your endeavors. And this is that, especially something like, what did I marry into? Oh, no, but it's all good. But you do have your own company, right?
I do, yes.
I think Megalodon Effects. I love that name, and the skeletal mermaid is actually pretty awesome.
Yeah, one of my best friends, her name's Beck Asmar. Asmar Art is her Instagram. She designed that for me as a graduation present from makeup school. She does graphic design work.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, she's like, happy graduation. You'd always want to go to makeup school, and I'm so proud of you. So, yeah, she designed that for me.
I mean, that's a very cool logo. It's memorable. It's and I like the hair. The hair is awesome, and the and actually the color, the nice light blue, the simple like tealish, I can't even describe that blue, and the white and black. It's not garish. It's not totally skulls everywhere. I see that on a lot of people who do effects. Like, yeah, here comes
Yeah.
a skull. It's like, okay, this is great. This is you. It's not too masculine. It's not masculine at all. It's great. It's not. Oh, I can't even think of the other words that I was going to think. It's like it went in one ear, one out the other. But but I love it. It's great. And have you gotten, for your on your website, you've gotten some business through this? People have noticed it and kind of called you up.
Yeah, I'll get people reaching out through my website, asking if I'm able to help them out on different projects. And yeah, it's that Instagram and Facebook has been really helpful with finding work, especially here. It's very active in New Orleans, which has been really cool.
That's I know it is, and I like to keep it. I would like to make it more active, and hopefully this podcast helps people understand. Hey, go out there and ask. It doesn't hurt to even just like put yourself out there. You may hear no a lot more than you hear yes, but you will hear a yes every now and then, and that's what's going to keep you going. But what I wanted to do, let's see if I can do this. I'm going to bring up. Here we go. Your website. Yeah. Look at that, and this is actually kind of cool because I've looked through it and I see some extra some of the pictures and images that you've done. This is a nice zombie makeup. They had the eyes, the contacts in there, and the throat. I like that.
Yeah, that was actually one of my favorite makeups I ever did because so that's my roommate and one of my best friends. Her name's Aaliyah. She's amazing. She's modeled for me more than she hasn't when we were in makeup school. But that was at a zombie convention at the Monroeville Mall in Pittsburgh.
Oh, wow.
And I used to help with conventions while I was in makeup school because my job, I was, a grown up when I went to makeup school. I wasn't fresh out of high school figuring it out, So I'd had like jobs out in the real world where I was like, I was a marketing person. And I, used to run conventions for my old job. And I became friends, who were still good friends of mine, with the woman who was in charge. Her name's Allie. Fleeman FX is her Instagram, and she's an amazing makeup artist too. But she was working career services at the school, and I was like, hey, can I come help with conventions? And it was great. I get to go and help her and talk to the students because I loved the school. So I got to talk to the kids about it's great to do this as a career. And I'd bring my homework, like sculpting projects, because at the time I was working nights at UPS to pay tuition. So I'd go work, help load trucks, and then I would go to school, and it was a lot. So getting any extra time to do my homework was super helpful. So I was at this convention, and Greg Nicotero, I don't know if you know if that name sounds familiar.
That name sounds familiar.
So he's an incredibly talented makeup artist. He and Howard Berger own K&B Effects out in LA. Mm-hmm. And he's done a ton of work for basically all the Walking Dead, right?
Okay.
Yeah, all the Walking Dead makeups, he's the dude. And he's super talented. And he comes walking up to our booth, and I look up, and I'm like, oh my God, it's Greg Nicotero. And my friend Allie is like, oh, hey, Greg, how's it going? Just, this is Charles, one of our students. And so, we're talking. He's super nice. And he goes, oh, are you doing the zombie makeup demo tomorrow? And I look at Allie, and I look at him, and I'm like, and Allie goes, yes, she is. And I'm like, okay. So Greg Nicotero walks away, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And she goes, it turns out that the school had submitted an old pamphlet or something that said zombie demo for the convention. And so she looks at me, she goes, do you have any prosthetics at home? And I was like, I have a drawer of random ones from old shoots. I go home and I pull this, slash throat and, cut cheek and all these random pieces that Synapse Effects Studios out in LA actually gave these to me when I helped them with something out in LA. Josh and Corinne Foster are the artists there, and they're super talented, incredible people. And so I had these pieces, and the next day I fortunately had a bunch of makeup, and I pulled this together, and Greg Nicotero walks up to the booth, and I'm, dripping sweat because it's Greg Nicotero coming to look at my zombie makeup. And he comes up and he goes, your edges are flawless. And almost burst into tears right there. And he was like, this is a solid zombie, you know, gave me some helpful tips for next time. But I mean, it stuck in my memory forever because it was a last minute makeup and we pulled it together. And Allie was super helpful with giving me tips and tricks of the trade because she'd been doing this for a long time. And like I said, she's really talented. Did my wedding makeup. She's the one who did my wedding makeup. Like, she's super talented. But yeah, that was my pride and joy makeups.
That's great. Yeah, the idea of you can't. I like that he noticed that the edges weren't there. That's something I'm gonna have to look for next time. Like, where are the edges? Oh, there aren't any. I mean, and then you have this is a mask.
Yeah, so this is a one-piece foam latex prosthetic that I sculpted. Also Aaliyah, the last model. This was her too. She's
Oh, it
behind
is?
that. Yes, she
Okay.
is. I wanted to do an angler fish. So it's hard to tell in this photo, but the angler in front of it actually lights up.
Okay.
So I had a rigged light in
Yeah,
there.
that's direct on, but sideways it would come out. And,
Yeah, so that was my very first full prosthetic piece that I had sculpted and molded and ran.
oh, I love it.
Thank you. Yeah,
A little bit of everything here.
a little bit of everything. We had an assignment where we had to pick. It was a time period mixed with a fairy tale. So I got Baba Yaga mixed with World War One.
Okay.
And so I basically created a character. This was my friend Mandy. She worked at UPS with me, and she's also an incredibly talented makeup artist. Mandy's FX is her Instagram, if I remember correctly. But yeah, so basically she's a little girl who went through her dad's old war stuff to go fight Baba Yaga. That was the fairy tale I got. So Baba Yaga is the witch who like eats the kids in the
Right.
woods. So that's Baba Yaga's head, product of Dapper Cadaver, that I happen to have in a drawer that she has on a hook there. And she's all beaten up and gritty because she's been through the woods to go fight Baba Yaga. So
All right. I like that. I wouldn't have guessed World War One. I immediately thought steampunk, but it was, which would have been fun. It's, Victorian, Baba Yaga, but still, I love that. I like the way the hook is going through the chin and out the mouth, and
yeah, it was
kind of fun.
yeah, it was a fun piece that I bought.
Let's see what we got next. And this is your loving husband.
This is my husband, yes.
This is after you beat him up? No.
Left him out in the cold. Yeah, this is a frostbite makeup I did on him. We started dating, and I remember he came over to my apartment for the first time, and he opened my fridge, and there was a big bottle of blood that said, "Blood, please keep in fridge," because the Dick Smith recipe is Caro syrup and
Right.
food coloring and dish soap and non-dairy creamer, and it just holds up better if you keep it in the fridge when you're storing it. And he was like, okay, this is who I'm dating. And I guess he decided he was in love with me enough to model for these kind of things for me. So yeah.
Well, the frostbite is great. I mean, the nose, the gangrenous tip of the nose is looking pretty good.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun doing this. He was a really good sport that day.
That's it. Now, this one's interesting.
Yeah, so this was my very first ever old age makeup that I did. I was the girl who played the little girl with the hook in her hand, with the head and the hook, same model.
Okay.
Yeah, so this was, I was turning her into like an 80-year-old woman at a wedding. So this was a multi-piece foam latex prosthetic that I sculpted, molded, and ran in foam latex. My very first had been an old age. That was one of those big projects we had to do as an old age makeup. I think I had the most fun of everybody in class because everyone was getting very frustrated with how long it takes to apply prosthetics, and I love applying prosthetics. I was just like in my happy zone. But yeah, this was supposed to be a very old woman.
Okay. I like it.
Thanks.
And then this one's kind of small, but it's in there.
Yeah, this was from a shoot that I did called On a Dark Night, A Dark Night in the City. That's what it was called. Yeah, this character was tortured and beaten up. He had his tongue ripped out. That's where there was all the blood around his mouth. But that was a crazy shoot because I had to do a scene where a guy was like stabbing himself in the chest, but just enough where you would only get a little bit of blood trickling down. So I had like a tube that was like running from like behind where he was going to be stabbing himself, and then I was off screen with a syringe to push the blood through so it would kind of come seeping out as he stabbed himself. Well, my syringe broke, and the makeup store was out of extras that day, so I had to improvise. And I remembered reading in Tom Savini's Grand Illusions book, the scene in Friday the 13th, when Kevin Bacon gets the arrow through the back of his neck. I don't know if you've seen that one, but he like gets the arrow through the back of his neck and he's like gurgling and the blood's spurting out. Apparently their syringe broke on set, and so they were like blowing the air through with the blood, and that's why it
wow.
came out gurgly-ish, because you had like that more natural
air.
airflow. And I remembered that as my syringe broke, and I went and started blowing this blood through, almost passed out because it's like 1,000,000 degrees in LA in the summer in this like warehouse. But yeah, that was an interesting shoot because I had to pull out all the random things I've read throughout my life. I had to pull out some old knowledge for that shoot.
The only problem I have with this picture is that he's smiling.
Yeah.
He's happy to be beaten up. Hi there, I survived. It's like,
Those are definitely some of my favorite photos on set are of like creatures. Like there was this really funny photo I took of one of my actors, full, just so messed up, all beaten up. And she's like this, drinking like, I think she was drinking, she was drinking a Capri Sun. She's just like all bloody and messed up. And I was like, those are my favorite photos.
there you go. I love it. That's it. And this one I really liked because not just the contact, the foggy eye, but it's the blood vessels underneath the skin, which really is a nice touch. Because it makes the skin seem translucent, which is what you wanted, I guess.
This was my first project. This was
Really?
the one that you said, what was the first project? And this was Cursed World Problems.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this was the one that Doug Hawley
fantastic.
had me hired on. And this was where I was like totally figuring it out. Corinne and Josh Foster actually helped me figure out how to make the scar. I met them through
Okay.
a mutual friend, and they helped me figure out how to do it. But yeah, this was my very first project that I did.
I like the scar going through the eyebrow. So no hair there. And that's
Yeah, so there's actually a really great product called Gafquat. It's sounds as it's spelled as crazy as it sounds, and you put it in the eyebrow hair so that
Okay.
it doesn't get pulled out with the glue that you put the prosthetic on with.
that's good. I like that.
Thank you.
The teeth, though, that is, you just black out one of the teeth in the back, or that's not dentures. It's just
No, so I do love making fake dentures. That's one of my favorite things to do, but I learned that in school. I didn't know it back in the day. This is Skin Illustrator makes tooth palette effects. And it's alcohol
okay.
and comes off with toothbrush and,
You just brush your teeth.
brush your
and it's
teeth
good.
and it goes away. But yeah, it's like an alcohol based palette that you brush on. And so I have all of them because whenever I go to conventions, they always get me because they're cheaper at conventions. And so I'm
There you
like,
go.
yeah, I need that palette. Yeah, I need that palette. So I have like a bazillion alcohol palettes from Skin Illustrator. Yeah, no, that's the tooth palette. They have like nicotine stain and all these really fun colors to
Great.
choose from.
Yeah, I like that.
That was a convention makeup I did on myself. That's a Tinsley transfer prosthetic. They make some really amazing prosthetics that actually go on like temporary tattoos. So like the ones you'd buy at Chuck E. Cheese as a kid.
Yeah.
You literally just like stick it on and then you use water and it activates it and you pull it off and you have
Pull it
a
off.
3D prosthetic on. It's awesome.
I love it. I love it. Let's see what else we've got. I'm going to go through a few more of these. Ooh,
That was my full creature with like the 20 million prosthetics. That was for the film Dispel.
and who was the talent? Was it looks like the person inside that prosthetic was a very thin individual.
Yes, she's very, very talented, actor, and she was just such a champ on that, just such a champ.
And this is one thing about the prosthetics. If you really do need to have the right body type base. For the type of makeup. I couldn't pull that off because you need somebody that looks like they're a cadaver. You need that. I don't mean that. Sorry. But it's that kind of thing. Where you need to have somebody who will fit the project.
Yeah, well, she was very tall. Her name's Lee Sherman. She's been on Shameless and a couple other TV
Okay.
shows. Really, really talented actress, but very patient. She's super tall. So like, I had to like stand on like a stool to get her face because I'm so short. But yeah, she's very cool, very kind, and very patient. Very much like, how can I make it easier for you? Do you want me to get down lower? Do you want me to turn around? Just like having the right patient model for these things changes the whole mood of everything. Like if you have somebody who's like, I don't want to be in this chair, I want to be in this chair, I don't want to be in this chair, I want to get out of this chair, I want to, let me out. You're like, it just brings the whole mood down. Like I try everything I can to make it fun. Work with me, let's I'm going to treat you well, treat me well. We'll be a team.
Let's see, we're going to go just a couple more and then one more after this. And this one,
This is me again. I was playing around with some products I bought during the pandemic. This is Scar Wax. This is all stuff from Mayron.
okay.
This is called Scar Wax. So the cuts, it was just like a possessed look. I don't know, I was playing around with some makeup effects stuff that I bought. Just get a mirror and start painting
Okay, just start
yourself.
painting yourself. And it's, you almost look like, well, with the scars and everything, my first impression was like, this is what a drowned body would look like because of the paleness of it.
This was all preschool stuff that I was just playing around. I just was literally, it was me playing around at home.
I'm gonna go one more. This one, I remember looking at this one. It's the scar in the shape of the bee of the tattoo. Mm-hmm. And is the tattoo real or was it?
Yeah, that one's real.
Okay, that's your arm again.
Yeah, but the scar is something called rigid collodion, and it's this super cool stuff that you put on and actually like shrinks your skin.
Okay.
And it creates like a divot. And so you put some layers on. So I was just practicing like,
Well, I like the way that it matched the shape of the bee. I mean that's like okay. So there's a story there, and that's something about the makeup that I love is that it creates a deeper story than just oh look he's bloody. Well, why is he bloody? Why is that scar there? Why is this there? And it kind of makes it makes things like more interesting.
yeah. And what's cool is when you see the actor come to life. Like you put them in that makeup and that's my favorite part of it is watching them come to life because they just feel like they can embody that character even more and they get so excited. That's the coolest thing.
What one actor he's been in a number of different things, and he's always in almost full body makeup.
Oh, Doug Jones.
Doug Jones, that's him.
So talented.
And big, lanky guy, but he was fish guy in
Shape of Water.
Shape of Water. Really excellent. Star Trek Discovery, he was an alien. And what I loved about that character when he, because he's in the full mask makeup and it's in the uniform. The rest of it's he's humanoid, but this alien lizard type creature. Okay, that's what Star Trek does. Okay, you put on a face mask and that's who you are. But he added to the character because he became the character. If you ever watch that show and you see the way he walks, everybody else walks like a person. And he's got his arms kind of flowing back and forth because that's the way he envisioned this alien species doing it. He's still able to get from point A to point B. He doesn't make a big production out of it, but it's just something that in the wide shots, he's walking with the arms flaying and the legs going in just a certain direction. He makes that character really come to life. The makeup is fantastic. It needs to be. Mm-hmm. And that's not the whole thing. It's the actor inside that makeup that really, brings it all together.
Absolutely. And the more enthusiastic you can get them, speaking of 48s earlier, I did a 48 for this amazing director. His name's Austin Durst. He's actually moving to New Orleans in the spring. He came from Mardi Gras and wants to come back.
Okay.
And we did a film called, we made a snuff film. That was our 48. Ooh. Yeah, it was very bloody and gory. It was so much fun. But the actors came to life as I put these bruises on them, and I put like a black eye on one of them because they was like getting beaten up in this short film. And it was just so much fun to see even something as simple as bruises and, black eyes get the actors all pumped and ready to go. And yeah, it's a very rewarding career choice for me.
Well, I do see a change, an improvement, if you will, from the beginning of film and stage makeup to now. Before, when everything was shot in black and white film, they had to use garish colors in their makeup just to have it show contrasty enough on camera to make it appear. Lon Chaney, what was the film? I can't remember what it was. I think it was him. They did the first like true special effect. It was an in-camera effect and a lighting effect. They put on a makeup on him that was splotchy and dark, whatever, all over his face, and then covered it with regular makeup, but leaving the splotchy stuff the way it was. And under regular light, it looked like a normal face. And all he did was move to one of these sodium lamps that they were using, and that caused the makeup underneath to reflect in different ways. So he had this hollow, evil look. And the fact that somebody thought about that with just makeup and a light was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, what they used to pull off, I mean, still do what they do pull off now,
yeah.
But like Jack Pierce he did all like Frankenstein, like the original Frankenstein look. That forehead was built up with latex and cotton every day. It wasn't a prosthetic. Like that wasn't a thing, back in the day. The things that Dick Smith did with, his work on The Exorcist was, absolutely incredible. You have Rick Baker, who's super nice, by the way. I met him at a convention. Super nice guy. I was wearing a vampire prosthetic, and I said, "Hi, Mr. Baker, can I get a photo with you? I'm a big fan." And he looked at me. He's like, "Absolutely. Go take a photo with me." And he looks at my neck and he goes, "Rough night." And I was like, because it's Rick Baker. But yeah, no, I mean, what he did with American Wolf in London, Rick Baker, I mean,
that was some great makeup and great effects. The jaw growing out and the hands and the feet elongating, during the transition scenes is really awesome.
Yeah, no, and I especially love what he did with Jack when he gets all ripped up by the werewolf and he comes back as the ghost. There's like dangly bits of flesh that like flip around when he moves his head. And I remember being a kid watching that and I was like, amazing, that's brilliant. That looks so real.
Because that's what it does. It's those little touches that really, really make it. The thing is, like, when I look at like the history of film and the history of like special effects and makeup effects and things like that, Hollywood, it seems, has kept up with the Joneses, basically. They've kept pace with technology, easy. Television, not so much. I go back to Star Trek, the original series with the original Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock and all that. It was shot on film, but for television, low resolution, regular TV. I mean, horrible, look. This is just what it was. So they didn't put a lot of effort into edges. And there are some, when they blew up the original film for, remastering, you can see some of the edges of the ears, where they meet the real ear, and you see where the makeup ends, and how green it was to match, to say he's an alien, but, it didn't come across like that on television. And then when TV changed to high definition, and then ultra high definition, the 4K, they really had to go into and say, okay, we need to change the way we do makeup, because it's like we can't just slap it on and go shoot a scene and then we're done. We have to make sure that, because people can see edges, you can see pores, you can see all this stuff. So we need to do it right. We can't just have see a bubble, pulsing right in your brain and then seeing the edges, where in 1960, 1970, sure, no problem. People get it.
Yeah.
Now people will still get it, but we're going to be drawn out of our, bubble of disbelief. We don't want that. We want to be sucked into the story, and seeing an edge or seeing something that's just a little bit off color, they didn't quite get the color right, is enough to take us out of that.
Yeah, and I feel like because of all of that, I feel like TV has definitely shifted forward. I feel like in a lot of ways, like I remember, and that's why people loved The Walking Dead so much when it came out, because it looked so real, right?
Yes.
Like K&B Effects just blew that out of the park with how real their zombies look. And then what's super cool about it is as the show went on in Showtime, it's been years of this apocalypse, right? And so you have this Georgia heat on all these dead bodies. And so like as the show went on, I watch for this stuff, but you could actually see the decay in the zombies as representing the environment that they've been living in.
Right.
So it's super cool. Just like how, I remember there was this one scene, my roommate was so mad at me because I made her rewind it like 5 times. I was so excited. There was like, it's my favorite zombie still. It's tied with a zombie from this great movie. But yeah, so basically, it's like the zombie's trying to squeeze through these 2 like moving trucks, and it can't quite get through, and it busts through and degloves its whole body.
Oh, wow. I don't remember that scene, but it's like
forever and ever right here, because I was like, oh my God. So I like rewinded it like that time. My roommate was like, dude. I was like, I'm sorry, this is amazing.
No, but you're right. I mean, some of the zombies, the way, you can see the ones that were dead longer, you can see the bone, the skull, but it doesn't look like they don't look like it's built up on a regular face, even then. Even the ones, actually cool makeup, in Walking Dead were the alphas or whatever they were, the people that pretended to be the walkers to walk among them, who had the dead masks on, and it's like, okay, that's a zombie, all right, and they pull off this rubber mask, and it's like, oh, no, I'm actually a real person, but no, let me put this back on. That is incredible.
Yeah.
It's because the look, and it looks like you would expect it to look. It sounds and flopped around like you expected it to. And that was creepy the first time I saw that. Oh.
Yeah. No, and a lot of that is achieved with something called silicone prosthetics. It's so beautiful, so expensive, but so beautiful because it has a translucency of skin. So it just reads more like real flesh.
Oh, I love it.
And you can paint other products like latex or foam latex, or you can paint these other products to have that translucency, but like silicone just like looks so nice.
I like it. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Let me ask you one more question before we go. What do you have on your plate coming up?
I have a shoot coming up that is going to be in June. I can't really talk about it, but I know all these things. I'm excited. I can't wait for them to come out so I can like tell you and show people them. But yeah, I'm not supposed to talk about any of the stuff I'm working on. That is, the sign of someone you can trust in the industry if they're like,
That's
nope,
okay.
I can't talk about it.
That's all right. That's good.
It's going to be a lot of fun, body, gore, horror effects. That's all I can say about it. I'm very excited about pulling some of these off.
Oh, good. Can't wait. You got to come back and show us what you make, when you can talk about it.
Absolutely. I would love to.
Well, Chelsea, thank you for joining us today. This has been great. We've had a few technical hiccups. Well, we'll work through those, but it's all great. It's all good. I do appreciate it. And for our viewers, I want to say I appreciate y'all. Join us next time on Anecdotes. See y'all later.
Thanks to our sponsors, La Film Studios and the Abita Springs International Film Festival. If you want to sponsor the Anecdotes video podcast or be a guest, please email us at anecdotes@lafilm.net. Anecdotes is recorded in the 36 and 59 studio in beautiful Abita Springs, Louisiana.